The Northeast and Southeast Asian film market is of increasing importance and source of revenue, and there is much money to be made from and within the region. Hollywood has noticed the potential here, but often that potential is wasted on Japanimation adaptations done wrong, and viewers as well as people realizing that the same mistakes are often being made over and over repeatedly, when doing things just slightly differently can and have made possible successful films or even film franchises. What is wrong? Why are there problems? What can be done? There are some reasons. Target audience. Let us say that you know of a Japanese animation, you've read about it in manga, and you've seen it as well in anime. Perhaps you may be optimistic about the film that's being adapted because you have prior experience with it. You are not the person that the theater, production organization, or studio isn't targeting. A major reason why adaptations fail so much is that the target audience does not know much or anything of Japanese animation at all, and it's adapting an Asian product for an American or European audience. Everything needs to be changed to account for this, and even the concept or origin of the adaptation will be changed to suit this difference in culture. And as a result of the changes to the culture and source material, the Western adaptation can end up being about film and turn away everyone from fans of the series to just casual movie watchers. An example of this was Ghost in the Shell, as when it was first announced, fans of the series were excited for the possible adaptation and even open-minded about any changes, but when producers related to the movie actually insulted fans on social media, calling them fanboys, these people instantly took to the internet to tarnish the film as much as possible even before its official release. As a result of this, the people who knew about the Japanimation told their friends and family to avoid the film, and these people developed a bias towards the film. Naturally, once the film was released in time, the negativity surrounding the product intensified, and it turned out to be a disaster. All because the target audience wasn't given proper respect from studio developers and officials involved within and relating to the project. Source material. Japanimation isn't exactly easy to change for a Western point of view or mindset. The Japanese animation industry dates back to roughly the 1960s with its modern origins at that time. It permeates within all aspects of Japanese society, and every man, woman, and child within Japan has watched anime at some point in some form within their life. There is also no age limit for when you should stop or could stop watching anime. Older people can watch as well. There is no bias as to how old you can be. And as a result of this, most, regardless of age, are up to date with the most current trends within Japanimation released nationally. In the West, this is not the case. Origins date back to the 1990s, and even then, not everyone knows about Japanese themes or culture internationally. Yes, some do, but not to the depth that is expected of or required within Japan. An example of this was Dragon Ball Evolution. Though Dragon Ball Z, the animation in particular, has become mainstream within America and most European countries, there were enough reasons to keep everything intact with the core story. Studio officials decided to change and remake everything and only have basic connections to the Japanimation and manga, such as names of characters and appearances of these characters. Everything else were completely changed hugely for the adaptation, and it's now considered to be the worst anime-inspired film ever made. All actors and actresses, and even the director, apologized to the fans for such a horrible film and adaptation. Racism. Aspects of racism against Northeast and Southeast Asia persist in Western cultures, from a lack of confidence in Asian men or women in leading roles for adaptations. Most Japanese animation have characters of Japanese or Northeast, Southeast Asian ethnic origin, and a huge fear privately that Hollywood has admitted because of box office bombs relating to anime adaptations is because they cast a white actor or actress to a role that's meant to be Asian. It's not even white producers keeping Asians out of roles. It can be Asian producers keeping other Asian men or women from roles. An example of this was the Death Note adaptation. When Masi Oka was announced as one of the producers for the adaptation, fans were actually very excited that Asians would be hired for positions within the film, or even a leading role. But he himself casted a white actor for the lead role, when in fact, in the Japanese animation and manga, the character is Japanese. Critics called Oka racist, and even made claims that he was ashamed of his own Japanese heritage. Oka later spoke out against the claims of racism by himself that during the casting, from the selection that was assigned to him, there were no Asian actors who could speak English well enough, and he had no choice but to choose a white actor. That comment from Oka was racist in and of itself, and his reputation as an actor suffered following the decision of this. Naturally, because of that and other reasons, the adaptation was naturally a disappointment. Let them do it themselves. With the disappointment of Western adaptations based on Japanimation, some commentators and critics have said to not even bother attempting anime and let the Japanese make films based on anime themselves. It can't be any worse than what the Americans have done, and perhaps it might be received well. An example of this were the Rurouni Kenshin films that were done completely by the Japanese, from screenplay to producers to directors to actors, and Warner Brothers only distributed the film. That was the only example of Western involvement. The films were faithful to the source material, and though some things were changed for the film, aspects relating to it, they were similar enough to be considered improvisations that were received well. All the films were considered to be successes, and even when the films were distributed internationally to foreign theaters, they were also received well by audiences and critics. Why can't anime be adapted properly? Japanimation can be adapted, but why not in terms of a Western view for a Western perception? It's been said that Western audiences, and in particular the American market, isn't intelligent enough to grasp Asian culture, themes, or views in depth. From a casual point of view, it's relatively easy, yes, but from a detailed, concentrated, complex point of view, no. This is why when anime is adapted, it's reinterpreted through a Western point of view so casual movie audiences can understand what they're seeing without being too confused, if at all. As a result, the message or story or theme of the animation is lost. Minor changes are acceptable, but major changes are not, as the story becomes too difficult from the source material to envision properly.